Here at the Melanin Initiative, we simplify medical information into language you can understand. We create a safe space to ask your questions and share our nursing perspective. Today, we're diving into Pride. Specifically, we'll be talking about DC Black Pride and World Pride taking place in Washington, DC. By the end of this episode, you'll hear about 3 things that you'd be surprised to learn about Pride events, things you might not expect, things that challenge common misconceptions, and real insights from someone who's been at the center of it all for over 20 years, the Kenya Hutton, President and CEO of the Center for Black Equity. Stick around because this one's going to change the way you think about Pride. If you're new here, welcome to the Melanin Initiative. I'm Dr. Kimberly Madison, a doctorally prepared nurse practitioner and one of your co-hosts here, along with Alicia and Geraldine. We're a health literacy podcast. When we say health literacy, we're talking about your ability to obtain information, to understand it, and then to use it at home to manage your health and advocate for others. We have 2 missions here. The first is that health literacy, to break down information into ways you can understand, both for the public and our peers. The second is to elevate the expertise of nurses, to bring awareness to all the diverse career opportunities in the industry, and to let our peers know all the ways that they can leverage their expertise, both as clinicians and as entrepreneurs. If you haven't already, this is your chance to subscribe. Give us a thumbs up, leave a comment or 2. If you're on Apple or Spotify, give us a 5-star rating. Every time you engage with our content like that, it shows the algorithm that this information is important, so that when people like you look for content like this, we'll show up higher in the search results. Remember, this show is for educational purpose and only. The opinions expressed here are our opinions alone. They are not a representation of any of our affiliations. If you think you might be having a medical emergency, you should seek medical attention and medical guidance from your healthcare provider. If you or someone you know might be having a mental health emergency, you can call 988 or text 741-741. We're about to welcome a true champion of change to the Melanin Initiative today. Meet Kenya Hutton, a visionary who's been transforming the landscape of health equity for over 2 decades, standing boldly at the intersection of HIV prevention, mental health advocacy, and justice for Black and Brown LGBTQ+ communities. He isn't just a community advocate, he's a masterful strategist and coalition builder whose influence has shaped national conversations and campaigns addressing critical health disparities. Many of you recognize the transformative leadership of the DC Black Pride, one of the nation's most powerful celebrations of Black LGBTQ+ excellence and resilience. But trust me, that's merely scratching the surface. Behind the scenes, Kenya has been architecting programs that connect marginalized communities with life-saving resources, dismantling barriers to healthcare access, and amplifying voices that systems have historically silenced. From pioneering vaccine equity initiatives to tackling substance use challenges to crafting policies with teeth, this man moves through the world with purpose and precision. Today, he's joining us to share insights about the upcoming DC Black Pride 2025, to illuminate the persistent health challenges facing our communities and inspire each of us to move beyond the performative allyship and to sustain meaningful action during Pride and beyond. Kenya, welcome back to the Melanin Initiative for the 3rd time.
Yes, thanks for having me back. I love getting here and chatting with you and telling all your listeners.
Yeah, we spent about 20 minutes catching up.
Yes.
But so much has happened since your first appearance, right? You got married, you just closed on a house, and you just got your master's. And of course, now you're president and CEO.
Yes, it's been a busy few years. Yeah, obviously, actually, all of the last year that all happened. Yeah, pretty busy year.
And so he's going to be writing a book that we can all dive deep into once things settle down, as you can imagine.
Yes.
I'm really excited about this episode. We invite people to go back and watch your first 2 episodes. The first one was really that pinnacle because you really taught us about the history of DC Black Pride and really important people who helped pioneer this movement. And then last year we were able to catch up on the events that were taking place and Rainbow Row. And so we're really excited. Before we jump into our questions and our case study, we have another new thing, which is our icebreaker. We do 5 questions in 5 minutes. And this is just a chance to help you to relax and to allow the audience to get to know a little bit another side of you.
Sure.
So the first one, you're actually the perfect person to ask this question. How do you differentiate a leader and a manager?
Ooh. So a leader inspires, right? A leader inspires people, a community, to not just follow them, but to be leaders themselves, be leaders in their own community. This is my opinion, right? To be leaders themselves, right? As a leader, I should be inspiring you to get up and lead and take on initiatives and really move messages forward. And manager sits down and manages and kind of says do A, B, and C, and then you have to repeat that. Both things can be true. Both things can coexist. But I think that's the difference. As a leader, which I'm still getting used to people calling me a leader. That's what I strive to do. I strive to inspire those around me and those that are coming behind me to really take up the mantle, take up initiatives, and move forward and give them the tools that I have from my 2 decades of doing this work so that they can avoid some of the pitfalls that I had to go through. They can have a smoother ride to success.
And I'm curious, you said you're struggling with that. Is that because of your new role, or you've been struggling with that for the last 20 years?
I mean, for the last 20 years.
Okay. I was going to say, you've been a leader for a long time.
Yeah, I it's just, I've never been one to, and this is just my entire existence. I've never been one to take accolades very well. I'm always like shying away, and I'm like, no, I'm not. Like every time I hear someone read my bio, I like stutter. I'm like, ooh, I guess I did do all of that. So that's just me. I just like to be the guy in the background, pulling the strings, helping support other people. And yeah, so when people call me a leader, I'm like, I guess I am a leader. I guess I do fit that bill. Just because of doing what I do.
Yeah, and I agree with your definition too. I would say the same thing. What's the next big thing you want to be a part of?
The next thing that I want to be a part of, which I have been behind the scenes for maybe the past year and a half trying to execute, is I would love to be part of a documentary or some apparatus that will be documenting our history, right? Our history, our stories. Like you said, I came on the first one where we talked about the history. And I think, one, it's not readily available. Things like that aren't readily available, is accessible for folks. Like you have to like really seek it out. And especially at a time like now when there's parts of history, especially Black and queer history, being silenced and removed and hidden. We really need to take up the mantle, take up the energy, take up the initiative to really get our history documented. I tell people all the time that if when I was 16, 17, 18 years old, the people that I was around then, if I knew then what I knew now, I would be documenting, recording those conversations, right? Because some of those people are no longer with us. And their stories and their history and that legacy, it only lives in my memory, right? What would it have been like if I sat down with a recorder? I mean, it was when I was 18, phones were very different now. They're very different than they are now, right? But what if I was able to like have a recorder and like have these conversations with some of these people that was in things like Paris is Burning, right? Recording those stories and sharing it. I remember having conversations with like Willie Ninja, who was like a pioneer of performance, dancing with Madonna before she became big, right? Octavia St. Laurent, like I remember sitting down having a conversation with her, talking about, and this is back in the 90s, having conversations around her experiences with having loose silicone injections and why she regrets it and how life has been a struggle for her then, right? And now I'm seeing people talking about it now, but I had these conversations decades ago with this person, right? What would have been like if I was able to document that and be able to share that, right? Record these stories. And there's so many other stories that I have that I wish I documented. I want to do that now as we have a few people left from back then, right? We have, DC Black Pride was formally founded in 1991 by 3 individuals. Only one is living, right? My former boss, president, CEO, well, emeritus, because I am the new president CEO. I got to get used to saying I'm in his role, right? But he's been around for 25 years running this organization, been to almost every Black Pride in the world, right? The wealth of information he has, I need to be able to extract it from him and document it for him and put it in the media, put it on TV, put it on somewhere, so that generations behind us can come back and learn. There's so many people that I meet all the time, and I tell them, they start. I have some colleagues in like the Netherlands. I have someone in Tallahassee, Florida, and they want to do a Black Pride. And I say, well, do you know the history of Black Pride? Do you know why Black Pride started? And their definition is so far off. Do you know why, it started? They don't know. Who's the person that started it? They don't know. right? So there's people doing things and they're doing things and not even realizing why they're doing them or in what legacy they're really stepping into. And I really want to make sure, I would love to, the next thing is to be part of a system that is going to document our history in this time. I think right now is a perfect example of why we need to make sure that things are documented, because at the swipe of a pen, someone can make a decision to say, yeah, your history is not valid anymore. People don't need to know about that.
Yeah, and right before we started recording, and I was encouraging you to write your story, it becomes even that much more important and significant because
Yeah.
now you're carrying the generations with you, and we can't let it die with you either.
Absolutely.
Especially since we have so many tools and communities at our fingertips to make things like this actually happen.
Absolutely. That's the next big thing I would like to be part of.
Wonderful. And this is perfect because you're still in the euphoric stage of love, right? What is the most important thing you've learned about communication?
Communication goes both ways. Communication does not keep, I'm going to say this loud so he can hear. Communication doesn't keep a scorecard of who said what and when. Sometimes communication is not communicating. It's knowing when to just, I'm not even going to respond. Just let it go. Just let it go, right? Communication, I think people always feel like you have to go back and forth. Sometimes, it goes both ways. It's also, understanding. Sometimes people might, your significant other, people in the community might have a different version of the story. That doesn't mean their story is invalid, just their version. And letting them say their piece and you say yours and finding that middle ground. But then again, like I said, not keeping a scorecard and also learning, sometimes you have to just not even respond and just let it go, just for the benefit of going to bed peacefully at night.
Yeah, I think the saying is, do you want to be married or do you want to be right?
Exactly, 100%. Exactly. Sometimes, you just, okay, and just let it go.
And so one thing I learned really important this week is the difference between reflective and reactive communication, which I think a lot of us do, myself included, get caught up in reactive as opposed to reflective.
Yes.
And it's a skill. That's why we all need our own therapist.
Yes, we all need a therapist. It's definitely something I had to learn to not respond to everything. That was definitely a learned skill. Learned that in my personal life and my work life, everything doesn't deserve a response.
Yeah. What's something you use every day to make your life easier?
Oh, what do I use every day to make my life easier? The internet. I feel like, people talk about different things, but I'm like, listen, I was around before the internet was so, easily accessible. And I remember, I talk about it all the time. I remember getting, Encyclopedia Britannicas delivered to my house every year, right? And if you were not one of those kids, well, I didn't have it every year. I think we got it delivered like maybe 3 years and we couldn't afford it anymore. Because if you were not one of those kids to get it every year, your information was old. Right? Look, by the time you got the books delivered, your information was already old, right? But the internet, I think, we don't really, I think we've gotten so accustomed to utilizing the internet for so many different things. We really have stepped away from just the vast amount of information, factual information that is also on the internet, as well as, social media junk, which is a good pastime. I pass my time scrolling all the time.
The Melanin Initiative.
Yes, I know. When I don't scroll past the Melanin Initiative. I stop and I listen to the Melanin Initiative.
Yeah.
A lot of things, sometimes I doom scroll, but I think, the internet makes my life easy every single day. Anytime I need anything, I just gotta Google it. And those of us that have memories of life before the internet, then that's anyone whose birth year does not start off with a 2 may not understand that. Right? What it was like before, when you had to go to the library to pull up a book to find the book. You had to pull out the encyclopedia to get definitions. The internet makes life so much easier, and I use it every day without even thinking about it. And I need to give the internet a shout out.
Lastly, what season are you in?
Oh, I am perpetually in a season of gratitude, right? And I say perpetually because I always come back to the space of gratitude. I've lived a life that I can absolutely say, if I were to close my eyes tomorrow, right, I can say I lived a full life, right? And I am always back into the season of gratitude that like I've made it, right? I have gratitude of the things I've overcome, and the gratitude of what I have, right? I have way too many friends um that didn't make it, right? I have friends that are still dying now, right? I have, I remember back before I moved out of New York, I used to have a funeral suit that I would wear because I was going to funerals so often, right? From my circle. Um, so I'm just constantly in a state of gratitude, just always coming back to this space, and at least once or twice a week, I find myself just laying in bed, just thanking the universe for getting me to where I am today, because I didn't have to be the one to make it, but I did, right? I was.
Ooh, that's the title of the book, Kenya. The title of the book.
You're right. You're right about me. But I made it, right? I have friends that went through some of the things that I went through and I'm not here today, right? I have friends that have gone through some of the things and they're still stuck in that cycle of life where they haven't been able to like break that energy. But here I am. I've gone through everything from poverty to White House accolades. I've gone the whole trajectory. So I'm always in a state of gratitude.
Wonderful. So the first book is your story, right? Everyone's going to tell their story. The second one is on leadership, being part of the 1%, being at the 1% table. But then, you kind of glossed over it, but even grieving, right? A lot of people in our community in particular, even very young, right, deal with a lot of grief without the tools or the manual. And so that could be the third part of the series.
Yeah. Okay. See, there you go. See, I need you. We was destined to talk today, so you could like give me the order of my books. I love those. I would read those. Yeah.
Let's talk about Jordan. He's our case study, and we'll be talking to him throughout the episode. So Jordan is a 32-year-old Black queer professional living in a mid-sized city. He's been attending Pride events locally for the past few years, but has felt disconnected from the larger LGBTQ plus community. He works in a corporate environment and has been struggling with feeling out of place. At Pride events, particularly as it relates to mental health, health access, and advocacy for queer people of color. Despite participating, he often feels like his voice isn't heard and that the larger community isn't fully addressing the specific challenges that he faces. He's been curious about DC Black Pride and World Pride, but hasn't attended due to uncertainty around how it might impact his sense of belonging or provide real tools to navigate health disparities that he's facing. Yeah. So, let's say you're speaking to someone like Jordan, someone who's been curious about Pride events but never attended. What would you say to them about what they can expect that's different from the stereotypical idea they might have?
It's interesting that's a case study because that's actually an actual situation that I talk to people about all the time. And one of the things I tell folks is, when you think about mainstream prides, you think about parades, festivals, dance parties, all those things. When you think about Black Pride is rooted in community and rooted in support, right? Giving you the things that you need, whether it's mental health, healthcare access, etc. That's what Black Pride has been rooted in. And even though because of funding and the expansion of the Black Pride movement, there is still a through line of community through it. I tell folks that Black Pride is always like a family reunion where you come together and get loved up on by the people that will treat you like they're your auntie, that they're your uncle, that they're this, and make sure that you're fine. You're gonna have the cousin that's gonna be out here and get you totally wasted and have a good time with you, right? But you're gonna always find the auntie that's gonna be around, be like, all right, come here, baby, let me get you together, right? Because at the end of the day, we are all family, and those of us, especially when we create spaces like Black Pride, where we uplift our elder community and create opportunities for them to interact with the rest of the community, you get that familial feeling that you have experience that you'll get at at a Black Pride celebration. If you talk about DC Black Pride in particular, DC Black Pride in particular was started, right, as a fundraiser for the community that was being affected by HIV, right? That's where we started. We always going to have a major healthcare component in the work that we do, in our spaces. Always feel free to come by. We're always going to have a smiling face and ready to welcome. We're always welcoming in our community. And, even in the larger aspect of World Pride, that World Pride is going to be bringing in all these millions of people. DC Black Pride has been, and I think this might be the first World Pride where DC Black Pride has been a focal point of the World Pride celebrations. It is one of the marquee events. It is one of the major kickoff pieces of it, right? Because one of the things as it was coming to DC that I was intentional about doing was make sure we created and maintained spaces that were exclusively for the Black queer experience. So we're going to have Black Pride, and then all the way through all the other weeks, we're going to have specific Black queer experiences at the Black Queer Film Festival, at the Black Queer Community Conversation Summit. We're going to have these spaces for you. So whether you come to DC Black Pride or any other time during the World Pride celebration, you're going to have some spaces that's going to cater to you, to your needs, to your thought process, and what you're going through, because a lot of us are going through the same thing.
And what would someone be surprised to just learn about Pride events in general?
That it's more than just parties, right? I think everyone thinks of Pride and thinks of Pride as one big party, and I think that is important to make the distinction that especially in the world that we're in today, joy is important. Unapologetic joy is important, right? Being able to experiencing joy is also a protest in this current environment that we're in right now. But also, we're able, a good Pride celebration is one that is able to mix in protest along with joy, right? Because they don't have to be exclusively separate, right? They don't have to be either or. They can be both. We can protest and have joy all at the same time. We are very resilient, very resourceful, very multifaceted people. This is how we've lived and existed, right? Through times of struggle, when times were really, really, really bad for us as Black folk, we still found ways to be joyful and celebrate, right? So that doesn't change right now. So yeah, Pride is both things, and you should be fed with both things when you come to Pride. Any good Pride organizer should be able to do that for you.
So Jordan, he's excited about the idea of attending, but he's really still uncertain about the overall impact that these events can have. How do you see Pride as a platform for change beyond the celebrations?
Yeah, so coming to Pride celebrations, it should give you a good Pride or celebrate a good Pride party. I could talk about DC Black Pride.
Please.
We have a number of people that I could sit here and name drop to you that have come to Black Pride, DC Black Pride, and has been so fed and filled with love, support, and a sense of community that didn't get in their hometown, that they went back home and came out. They went back home and felt so empowered to continue the movement and the energy where they live locally. And that happens literally almost every year. I run into someone and say, this is my first Black Pride, and I didn't know there was a Black queer community out here like this. I didn't know, because where I'm from, we're not uplifted, we aren't showcased like this. So sometimes just coming to the space and seeing it, just being, I tell everyone, come and volunteer, and you'll be able to see the back end and front end of what it looks like, and you get to really understand that there is community here for you, to really, again, feed you the way you need to be fed.
Yeah, you've done a really good job explaining the historical back piece, and especially the community, which did a wonderful job, and I think is really important. And I sensed that when I was there last year. And so we know that they're much more than just the celebrations. But what's the second most surprising thing people would learn about the deeper purpose behind Pride celebrations, especially DC Black Pride?
Yeah, some of the deeper things is, without getting too political, right? We are in a space where, as a society, we're experiencing people that don't want us to exist. They want us to go back into the closets. They want us to not express love for one another. They rather not see it, not hear it. They want us to just go back in the closet like we were back in the 70s and 80s and 60s. Pride is that space for you to be able to come out and live unapologetically, authentically who you are, right? It is an act of resistance. I think something I try to let folks know is that protest doesn't always mean marching and picket signs and walking down the street, right? Coming out and being in a room with 30, 40, 50 other Black queer folks laughing is an act of resistance, right? Because this is what they don't want you to do, right? That is a protest, right? Showing up and networking and fellowshipping with your fellow community members and existing is that. So I think folks need to understand that that also is part of why pride itself is important. It is a space of active resistance, as well as it's good for your mental health, right? It's good for your mental health to come out and find community, because sometimes, especially when some of the folks I work with that are in some rural parts of the country, they don't know that there is a community out there. So when they come and they see that, they experience it, it takes that weight off them, for them feeling that they're alone. I know as I was a young kid, one of the first things I thought I was alone, right? I thought, oh my God, I'm the only one. I'm the only Caribbean. I'm the only one here. Like, no one's going to understand. And then it wasn't until a year later, I found a whole community of Caribbean queer people right in New York, right? That I was able to, that understood my life and understood why I didn't go certain places, why I didn't say certain things, why I dressed a certain way. They knew. So, and some of those things you find at a pride celebration, right? You come out and you see, oh, these people are just like me. And that's really good for your mental health, for your self-worth, and all the things. So, again, I keep on saying this term, but a pride should feed you. And I'm not just talking about like feed your belly, but feed your soul. That's why I think prides are important.
Hi, I'm Alicia from the Melanin Initiative Podcast. Our mission is twofold. One, to simplify complex health information so you feel empowered to ask questions, educated on how to manage your health, and confident to navigate the healthcare system. And two, to elevate the expertise of nurses, spotlight the diverse career opportunities within the healthcare industry, and inform our peers how to leverage their expertise as clinicians and entrepreneurs. In less than 2 years, we've grown to over 50,000 views and 1,000 downloads, with an international audience spanning the US, Canada, the UK, Australia, and more. Our engaged listeners are professionals, entrepreneurs aged 25 to 44 who value authentic, impactful content. Want to connect with this dynamic audience? Advertise with us. Send in your 1-minute video ad and let's amplify your brand. Email tmi.melanin@gmail.com for rates and details. Let's work together.
Yeah, and that's such a good point, because the rates of suicide in the community are extremely high.
Yeah.
Even, I can't remember where I was and what I was talking about, even amongst our veterans.
Yes.
Actually, there's more veterans that identify as transgender in the military than in the general population.
Yes. In general pop, I think we're there like 1%. Well, I was part of the Veterans Suicide Prevention Coalition. It has been disbanded, unfortunately. But it was so important to get these folks together, to have them talk about it. And you're right, suicide rates are extremely high. I think we're like 10 times more than heterosexual couples. And part of it is because of that sense of isolation, especially our youth. Right, especially our youth. I remember being younger and those thoughts went through my mind. And sometimes if you don't have that outlet, you don't have that community, I tell folks, the gay community saved my life. Ballroom saved my life. Because that's what I knew. I had someone else and I wasn't alone. I didn't have to have these struggles. I had someone I could ask questions to. And that's why you should come out to Pride. It can save your life.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
So we've covered the first two surprises, and here's the third one. Many people think Pride is just about coming out or showing up for 1 week in a year. What do you think people would be surprised to learn about the ongoing work that Pride events like DC Black Pride do in advocacy and community building long after the festivities are over?
Yeah, we advocate and tell folks Pride is more than just those 2-3 days, right? Because where corporate America historically has come in and supported us those 2 or 3 days, and then go away. The issues that I face as a queer person is happening the rest of the year. Right. So spaces like DC Black Pride and other Pride organizations, we advocate for, Pride 365. We advocate for Pride year round, for organizations, companies, community to accept us who we are all throughout the year. Like the Pride celebration is just like a celebration in the moment, but the work we do in creating spaces is throughout the entire year. As the Center for Black Equity, we work with other cities and states to create safe spaces for Black queer folks, and especially Black Pride. We operate at intersections of homophobia and racism, right? And we fight against both of those things at the same time, as well as misogyny and transphobia and all the other things, right? As Black queer folks experience, we that's what we do. And yes, you see us really come out during Black Pride Weekend or Pride Weekend, but this work of advocacy and activism happens year round. We're creating space and fighting, against oppression to make sure that we are able to be celebrated whenever we want.
Okay, now if Jordan is still hesitant after everything that you've shared about the long-term value of attending, how can he prepare for the event and where should he start?
Jordan, I would say visit dcblackpride.org, get an idea of what we have going on. If you want to learn more about the umbrella organization that really works with creating some of these safe spaces around the country, around the world, even where Jordan is locally, you can visit centerforblack.equity.org and find out. And Jordan, if you're still hesitant, reach out. We respond to every single email. Chances are I'll be the one to respond. Even if I come through with a different email address, most likely it's me. It's me. But I think it's important. I think it's so important for us to respond when community members reach out. Some of these major companies, major corporations, even major Pride celebrations, you send them a message in the inbox, you never hear back from them. I understand the importance of that communication. So when someone like Jordan that might be hesitant might send that email out, saying, hey, what is it to do with Pride? It's upon me as a community leader to let you know what's going on so you can feel comfortable to coming and enjoying yourself. And if when you get here, hey Kenya, I was the one that sent you an email on so and so, and I was asking these questions, and I guarantee I'll respond with a smile and talk to you. I might say, hey, walk with me because I'm walking somewhere, but we can walk, talk, and fellowship, and I'll be more than happy to help you out navigate the space when you get here.
Speaking about navigation, let's talk about some dates and times and what's on the agenda. So let's start with some dates. What comes first, DC Black Pride or World Pride?
Yeah, DC Black Pride starts first. So World Pride is interesting this year because it's covering all the prides. Trans Pride has decided to put their pride at May 17th, which is fine. But because of security concerns, they're not releasing with a location or not really doing much online promotion. But then right after that is DC Black Pride. We have our pre-Pride events May 22nd, which is the DC Black Pride pageant and the DC Black Pride Unity Ball. Those are free of charge, open to anyone. You could just walk in, have fun, and be part. Compete if you want. There's money to be won at the ball. Then on Friday, May 23rd, we have our opening reception, which is featuring over 9 LGBTQ artists, including viral sensation Iniko, comedians, Lupita Leopard, Bang Garson, Billy the Goat. We have everybody from all different ranges of music, comedians, spoken word, special guests. Like T.S. Maddox is going to be making a special appearance. Eva Marcel is going to make a special appearance. Monroe Elise is making a special appearance. And these people are just coming not to perform, not to give a lecture, just to come and hang out with us. Like that's literally what they're coming to do. They're just coming to come and hang out, say hi, and fellowship with the Black queer community. And that's just Friday night. Then Saturday we have our series of workshops which are being released right now. Once a day, you're going to see a new post coming out on social media about one of our workshops that it is free and open to attend. It all happens on Saturday, May 24th. We have Rainbow Row, which is our marketplace where folks can come, talk, exchange, and meet other companies that support you as Black queer people. And then we have our legendary poetry slam, Urban Poetry Slam that evening, where we have open mics. It's a poetry slam where folks come and compete from around the country to compete for cash prizes. And that happens on Saturday night. Then Sunday we have our interfaith service. We have our Babes and Brunch fundraiser featuring the current Miss Continental, Raquel Lord, former Miss Continental, Stasha Sanchez, from RuPaul's Drag Race, Akira Davenport, and a slew of other local performers. Then that night, on that Sunday, we're having the first Black Pride Hair Show. We're bringing that to DC. It's never happened before. No other prides are doing it. So we thought, what a great way, because one of our workshops is your queer black hair story, something like that. It's about like your hair experience, your black hair. So we're following that with a black hair show the next day, which will again be open and free of charge. We're doing it with Bennett Institute, which is a local gay individual that has a teaching school that teaches tons of people like barbering, cosmetology, all that stuff, right? Then the very next day starts our Black Queer Film Festival, which is going to be held on the historic Howard University campus in the Blackburn building. And we're going to be having 3 days of films that's for us, by us, Black, queer. That's it. Free of charge, shuttle bus opportunities to take you up the hill and to the venue. They're going to be picking people up from Thirst Lounge, Mixed Grill and Bar, and Busboy and Pose locations. That's going to be the route. So they'll pick you from any one of those and then bring you right there and bring you right back. Again, free of charge. Then we have a slight break on June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. We won't be doing much. Then we're going to have Community Conversation Summit on the 4th, 5th, and 6th, which is going to be topics that are going to be both local, regional, national, international. We're going to be able to talk about what things are affecting us and come up with, actionable items so you can walk out of here with skills to go back to the community to fight against, your current situation you might be dealing with. And that is being put together by a number of Black, queer, not only Black, communities of color-led organizations, including the government, is coming together to curate these workshops, curate discussion, curate these fireside chats, to really give back to community for those that aren't able to go, to the Human Rights Conference that the World Pride is having. That evening, you'll be having access to the community conversations. Again, free of charge, shuttle bus, so access will be there. Because everyone doesn't have the funds to pay for the conference. Everyone will have the flexibility to leave work, right? Mm-hmm. We firmly believe in creating space for community. So Center for Black Equity has led that initiative to make it free. It's going to be in the evening, 6 to 9. You can just come and just hang out with us and have conversations. And then that's it for us. And then we go to the parade on the 7th, but we're not doing we'll be in the parade, but we're not organizing the parade. That's just for everyone to just have that, a parade and the festival, which are going to have Cynthia Erivo is going to be performing at the end of the parade that Saturday, and closing out the festival on Sunday is Dochi.
Oh. You dropped a lot of names that I don't know. But they sound so. Yeah, I was with you on Encyclopedia. But they sound like, I know that they're a big deal.
Yes, people love them.
Those events, that was a combination of DC Black Pride and World Pride that you were going through?
Yeah, DC Black Pride. But like I said, during the World Pride events, Center for Black Equity is going to be hosting events throughout. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be DC Black Pride was that first consolidated weekend, but then we're going to have things throughout because we're going to have people from all over the world coming here. We want to make sure we create space for them as well, and through a Black lens. So again, folks like Jordan might, come to World Pride events and not really see themselves. We're creating that space. So when you come here, there's going to be a space that you can see yourself and not feel like you're going to get lost in all the bells and whistles that the larger group is doing.
And this is a pretty big deal, right? Because World Pride can happen literally anywhere every year.
Yeah, it does travel. This is the second time it's been in the United States. In 2019, it was in New York. And then, before that, it was in Canada. Then it was in New York in 2019. Then it traveled the world. Last year it was in Australia. And now it came back to the United States again. Originally it was supposed to go to Taiwan, but then Taiwan had some political unrest and they said they don't feel comfortable having it. And then they put up the bid, and then DC was second place. So then we got it.
So many jokes out of that comment, but I'm going to hold them to myself. And so, this is awesome. We're going to have so many people here, right? Millions of people.
They're anticipating 2 million people.
Wow. Yeah. So I think all the hotels are booked, right? Is that right?
For the most part, today is actually the last day for DC Black Pride Host Hotel, which was, we got a steal for $200 And hotels are like $300-$400 a night to stay. But if our savvy community knows how to work the system to find a room for cheap. So yeah, most hotel rooms are booked, but there's still a few available.
And before I forget, because you mentioned the transgender pride is not being publicized publicly, so if people have questions, they just email you?
They can email us, yes, for Trans Pride, or they can go to worldpridedc.org. However, one of the events that we started doing this a few years ago, is we also have DC Black Trans Pride, which is a segment of DC Black Pride, which is focusing just on trans and non-binary community, trans and non-binary issues, giving them their own space within everything. And that happens on Saturday, May 24th. You can just go to the website and get more information about that as well.
Okay, wonderful. And is anything going to be happening at the West End again?
Unfortunately, not this year. Weston is our preferred hotel, but Amazon is having a conference, and they took all of the meeting rooms and booking rooms. So we had we was like, we can give you sleeping rooms, but no space to have all the other events. I was like, all right, we'll just go to another hotel this year.
Okay, great.
Hilton DC. Yeah, we'll be at the Hilton DC, the Capitol Hilton DC this year.
Oh, okay, great. That sounds wonderful. And I do want to, so I did have the opportunity to attend last year, and I want to shout out Deb. Deb is the one who connected us. You said DC Black Pride will always have a health component to it. That's how we're connected. Me being in the healthcare industry, me and Deb being former colleagues, and then the two of you partnering together in part of. So you're still gonna have the little health and wellness pavilion?
Yep, absolutely. Actually, Deb just emailed me about it. We've been communicating. Yes, we have the health and wellness pavilion where you can come in and get free of charge vaccines, get testing for STIs, HIV, blood pressure checks, glucose checks, massages, yoga, the gambit of healthcare needs. You can get on the spot prep, you can get DoxyPap, you get a slew of things right there that we can free of charge. All you gotta do is just walk in. And as always, we tie all of our activities to a raffle. So we're raffling this year. If you participate in the Health and Wellness Pavilion, you register and check in to the opening reception. You can enter into the raffle to either win 2 tickets to the Beyonce Cowboy Carter Tour or the Janelle Monáe and Grace Jones concert on June 5th. So either you have a choice in either one of those contests, and all you have to do is attend. And you can attend each time you attend something different. That's a different entry into the raffle. So you can walk away from that raffle, or you can buy your own raffle, entry into the raffle. $10. $10 to get entry into the raffle, right? But you could leave that weekend with like 6 entries into this raffle, and be able to, increase your chances. The more you participate, the more you increase your chances of winning.
Well, I knew all those names. So like I said, I had the chance of attending last year, and I attended one of the forums, I guess.
Yes.
Was called, I think it was called like what the L word.
Yes.
And it was very insightful, and it taught me a couple things. Yeah, I hadn't had a chance to talk to you about that experience. So just walking in there as a Black woman on in terms of like what you see, I could easily blend in. If I never opened my mouth, no one would know anything, right? You might have just thought I was like another lesbian, right? But because we broke up into small groups, you had to identify how you see yourself. And I had to admit, I'm a straight Black woman. I'm here in this room to learn. And it was so interesting. I never was in that position before, because it's like they could say, hey, what are you doing here? But they were very welcoming, right? And immediately I understood. We always tell people to come sit at this table, right? We tell the communities I'm in, I'm always in the room with people who look like me, telling other people, come at the table. That's how we're learning. That's how you get this allyship. But in those conversations, the people noticeably look different.
Yeah.
Like if you're a white man, you walk in this room, I know you're not a Black female.
Yeah.
And so the fact that even I felt what I felt like kind of outside, asking to be let in.
Yeah.
I could have passed if we didn't have to sit in the little groups. So I immediately felt so empathetic for people who, when we say that, it's so easy to say, just come in the room. And I'm not saying it's not possible. It is possible. But the empathy I felt immediately was like, oh my God, this is actually harder than it is when I'm the one saying to do it.
Yes. And we tell people all the time, come on in, come to the table. But sometimes they have to work on some things themselves.
Yeah.
To feel comfortable, because you're making yourself vulnerable. And that's real.
Yeah, and they were being so vulnerable and so open, And they're so kind. They taught me a lot about like how we can be better as providers in that exchange and interaction. But one thing, and that's why I'm taking time to say this, is one thing that they mentioned, right, is that at this event, first of all, I think like lesbian only bars, it used to be like over 20 in the country. And now it's like single digit, which never would have thought if anyone didn't say it. At a Pride event, they were in a corner and they said outside of that forum, there was no other lesbian event. And that's actually their existence. Is that they find it hard to find community. Yeah. And they did such a beautiful job facilitating that conversation and people sharing their experiences. You had someone who was like in their 20s and then someone who was in her 70s. And the whole conversation in the 70s, they fought to say the word lesbian. Like, it was a fight. And so they still use it. Whereas the younger generation, they feel like lesbian boxes them in. It's too restrictive. They like the word queer. And it was like, if you're not in the room, these are just not conversations you're going to have. But to see them both come together and want to learn from each other, right? To recognize, like, I can still learn something. Yeah, I've been fighting for this for over 50 years, but I still can learn from you and I want to learn from you.
Absolutely. And, to your point, when I came on board, it was Black Pride was historically known as a boys' club. It was only for gay men. So I've been working diligently, hard to try to create space and try to increase, like I always I say, hey, if you have a workshop, bring it in. Send it to me. The way workshops happen now is before my time, someone would hand pick out people that they wanted to do the workshops. I now create an online open application process so anybody can submit. And then I have a small community advisory board that's made up of a lesbian, trans person, non-binary, a straight person, an ally. I have like one of every group I can find, and then they score everything blindly.
Oh, okay.
So they don't know who submitted it. They just see the description. I encourage people. I was like, don't put down any identifying information in the description, right? And if you do, when I go through, because I'm the only one that sees it, right? I go through and I'll take your information out and I'll just like redact it. So I send it to the community advisory board. So the community advisory board just gets like the nuts and bolts, the meat of what it is, and let them vote on it. And then I don't vote because I know I have like the knowledge of it. So I think it's unfair for me to vote. So I let them vote. And then when it's a tie, I let them break the tie. So then everything can be like as fair and transparent as possible. So I encourage folks of every group to submit more and more workshops, because the more you submit, the more we can get those things placed in. But I always try at the end of it, when I look at everything, I'm like, okay, we need to tweak this because we have nothing for women. So let's put something in here for women. Let's put something in here for this group. So that's what we're trying to do. And I'm actually working with an individual, Gina Rupert, this year for Women's Pride, because we're putting together an entire like experience for women throughout World Pride. I'm an old married man now, so I don't, it's not for me, but I want to make sure I create space for people. Because I understand the struggle. I understand, like, even within our marginalized community, sometimes we are marginalizing other people as well. And I've heard, the complaints from the lesbian community. I try my best to not pick and choose, but let them have the same opportunities to submit and engage and participate like every other group. So yes, we're doing that for our group. And as a matter of fact, and it's again so interesting to say, because as we're rolling out our flyers now, what happens is you send me the description, send me all these things, we create like a nice little wording for it, and then I send it to the graphic designer. The graphic designer actually just texted me, like his name just popped up, and he creates everything. And then what happens when you create the flyer, I send each person a flyer and say, hey, give me your feedback. We're going to start promoting this week. Someone says, well, could you put some female presenting people on our flyer? And it didn't click to me that it was 2 men on the flyer. Right away, I was just like, okay, done and done. And we changed to have 2 women on the flyer, because it's a conversation that's going to be really, really more so focused towards women. So they made the edit. So again, I'm one of those people. Check me. If you see me doing something wrong, check me, call me out. promise you I'm not doing it intentionally. In my mind, I might think I'm doing a great job, right? But then sometimes it'd be like, Kenya, pull me in my collar, Kenya, fix this, and I will do my damnedest to make sure that when we come back around, it's fixed. Just like she called me on the flyer, I made sure I do that. Just like I've always heard about the women, we're doing a women's pride. Trans community, we have DC Black Trans Pride. Like anytime someone brings something to me, I try to create space for that community to live and have a piece of the enjoyment.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, the imagery is so important. I spent most of my time talking about the lack of diversity in dermatology, and that includes medical textbooks and the images in those books. So when I put out content and I go look on some kind of mass stock photo, even it's hard to always find the images that I want. And so it's so great that we have AI, because now I can create the image I need in seconds.
And that's exactly what my graphic designer does. He makes someone's AI. And then I don't know what program he uses, but they're like nicely melanated, and they're not all the same complexion. Like some are dark and some are lighter, different hair tag. Like I tell them all the time, I was like, I don't know what program you use, but I love it.
Yeah, and a few more things I learned from them, because I mentioned the bars, but one thing they emphasized was how much they don't want to only see to each other in bars. They want to do things that have to do with being outside and being active. So they did name that there is a community where they can get out and just play ball or sit and chat and do yoga. And then they mentioned that because you talk about how we marginalize each other, that when we have this national conversation about Black women not feeling protected, they said, we're not part of that conversation. We're talking about us, because maybe if you're butch, right, or male presenting, that you can take care of yourself. You don't need me. So they still feel like there's really no one protecting them.
Yeah.
And the other thing was, like, when the HIV pandemic was pretty large, they were the ones taking care of the men, despite that we're dying, despite the fact that now when they need protecting, they don't have the same reciprocity.
But that just goes back to the thing about people not knowing the history, right? Like I know that it was the lesbians taking care of the gay men that was dying in the 80s, right? And 90s. I know that. But communities after me, they don't know that. They just know they can get a shot. They can go get a shot twice a year, and it's not even a thing anymore. But this community was taking care of us when we couldn't take care of each other, right? And we can't forget that, and we can't forget them as we move forward. Now that we have what little bit of privilege we have, we can't forget to always bring in those that have been with us from the beginning.
Yeah, thank you for letting me share my experience. I just want to thank that group for being so welcoming and allowing me to learn. And then I'm so grateful that now I can continue what I learned on this platform and get that message out even more.
As a matter of fact, I'm almost sure, if my memory serves me properly, it's that same group that called me out on the flyer. They're doing something again this year. And they were like, because they sent me their logo, and I was like, that is familiar. And I think it was that same group that was like, yeah, this is really for women. Can we get, and I was like, done. Within 24 hours, changed it right away.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that great example in leadership. It's been clear that Pride events are way more than what many people assume. For those listening, what's the biggest takeaway you want them to have after hearing our conversation today?
Pride is open for everybody. Pride is welcome to everybody, whether you're straight, gay, bi, lesbian, trans, white, Black, Asian, it doesn't matter. Pride is open for everybody. We encourage everybody to come in, because that's where it's sometimes how you're going to be able to learn and understand some of the special nuances, why we do the things we do, why we react this way we react to certain things, is by being at the table. Like you said, you was able to come and learn so much from being in the room. You was able to talk about your uncomfortability, all right? And also how no one kicked you out the room, all right? They welcomed you in, and was like, yes, we want to talk to you and let you know about what we're experiencing. So I think, I tell folks, many groups and people that I talk to and work with have said to me they don't know. I'm part of a couple other national and international pride groups, and they're always having this issue of they don't know how to work with the Black community. And I'm like, it's not hard. It's not hard. We don't know how to work with Black pride. It's not hard, boo. Reach out to them, talk to them. Don't tokenize that community, and don't walk in with the white savior mindset either, right? So yeah, I say all of that to say, Pride open for everybody. Come, enjoy yourself, find community, find your village. You can find it right at Black Pride. Whether you're part of the community or not, you can find your village.
Wonderful. How can people connect with you and support the work you're doing?
Yeah, to find out and support the overarching work I'm doing, you can visit centerforblack.equity.org or Center for Black Equity on all social media platforms, except the one owned by the billionaire. We no longer support that platform. But we're on YouTube, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. You can find us there. If you want to find out just more about DC Black Pride, just dcblackpride.org. And it's all connected. So if you go to dcblackpride.org, you'll connect straight to the Center for Black Equity. And you can find out about me, find out about the work I'm doing, and keep up with the craziness that's going on in my life.
Well, thank you. Always such a pleasure to see you. And we look forward to what you're going to be having going on next year this time.
Yes. I promise you I'm going to have something going on by next year.
Yeah. If today's episode resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend or family who could benefit from hearing more about the true impact of Pride events. And for those of you looking to get involved or learn more about DC Black Pride or World Pride, check out the resource that we put in the description below, including Kenyu's first 2 episodes. We're going to learn a whole lot more about the things that we kind of touched on here today. Keep advocating, keep supporting, and keep making a difference. Remember, you can email us your questions and show ideas to tmi.melanin@gmail.com. If you haven't already, you can still leave a comment, share, like, subscribe, give us 5 stars on Apple and Spotify. This helps the algorithm see that this information is important so that when people like you look for content like this, we'll show up higher in the search results. At the time of this recording, we release new videos every Sunday at noon Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And we drop the audio at 5 a.m. on all your favorite podcast apps so that our night shift friends can be the first to get something and not the last. We thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.